Welcome to Coffee and Conversation. This is the August edition where we're coming at you. Today, our theme is how to invest in yourself and your team. I'm your host, Eric Twiggs. I'm the CEO of the What Now movement. Also joining me, we have Ted Fells. He is the Vice President of Strategy. We've got Dr. Sharon H. Porter, who's the Vice President of Media and Communications. And then we have Dawn Marie Bornheimer, is the Chief Movement Officer. And I know you're asking, well, how did we get to this point with the What Now movement? What is the What Now movement? So this started with myself, Ted Fells, and Dr. Sharon H. Porter. We wanted to work together. This was in late 2019, and there was no pandemic. We said we're going to get together. We want to provide this inspirational content for people. We want to rent out these hotel ballrooms, get a bunch of people in the room. It's going to be great. We'll have great speakers. And then all of a sudden, the pandemic happened. Everything got shut down. Everything closed. So we asked ourselves, wow, what now? We still want to work together. And then we noticed amongst each other that people were saying things like, hey, I have this big vision. I have this big dream. But you know what? I'm going to wait until things get back to normal. The three of us noticed people on our network that said the same thing. I'm going to wait until things get back to normal. And we said, you know what? That's the last thing you need to do. The thing you need to do is ask yourself, what now? And that's how the What Now movement started. And our mission is to help people to make pivots when they face a challenge, when they face a struggle, when they face uncertainty. You need to pivot because the reality is this pandemic is going to pass and it's going to be something else. But it's all about pivoting. So our mission is to provide you with the inspiration. We have content. We just did a virtual summit that you need to go back and check out. You'll be able to check that out on our YouTube channel where we do master classes. We've got the Facebook group where we provide inspirational content, but the goal is to help you to pivot. The last thing you want to do is stop. Always ask yourself, what now? All right. So now that we got that out of the way, we've gotten that covered, we've answered your question. Today, we're going to talk about investing in yourself and your team. And the key to that is having a growth mindset, right? What is a growth mindset? A growth mindset is that belief that you can improve on your basic abilities. And that's really important because there's no such thing as standing still. You're either getting better or you're going backwards. So let's talk about that. So Ted, we'll throw it to you. What does it mean to you to have a growth mindset?
Just all about just growing and whatever it is, whether it's personal growth, whether it's within your business, or whether it's an organization, at your job. Just how do you just continue to get better and improve and not just stay stagnant? Reading, or whether that's from talking to people or whatever, just how do you just continuously improve yourself.
Absolutely. I liken it into like if you're on a treadmill, you've got a moving treadmill, and all of a sudden you just stand still. You're going backwards by default, right? And that's how it is with growth. A lot of people think that if I'm not growing, I'm just staying in the same place. But really, if you're not moving forward, you're going backwards. And everybody's passing you. So I think those things are critical. Dr. Sharon, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it actually goes back to the old adage of, versus born versus becoming. And a growth mindset simply means you can become better, as you mentioned. You do have, and I'll take leadership, of course, and just an example. People always say, are you a born leader or can you become a great leader? And truly, with work and effort, you can become better at whatever it is that you're doing, whatever it is. And so I think it's just that growth mindset really takes the stance of I can become better. Is it going to take work? Absolutely. It doesn't mean that you're just going to become better in osmosis. So you have to put the work in order for that to happen. So that, to me, when I hear that, and of course we know that Carol Dweck coined the phrase growth mindset, and it was intended actually for students getting smarter, is where it came from. And so if you take that in any situation, you know that you can become better, a more improved version of yourself. So that's what it means to me.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, I hear that all the time where people say, well, I'm not a good speaker. Or, I would start a podcast, but I'm not a good speaker. You can get better. The person that has that growth mindset, they're always looking to get better and take that next step. So I think those are critical points. So Dawn, what are your thoughts?
It's interesting. I think about growth mindset from two perspectives, from myself as an individual, and then also for the people that I lead, and how to help them understand what is possible with where they are today and where they desire to go. And there are some people that very much only can see exactly where they are right now, right? And that fixed mindset really kind of holds you in that place. It doesn't allow you to stretch. And so as an individual who leads teams, I desire to constantly demonstrate that I believe and take the steps towards growth, so that I believe I can grow, believe that I can upskill, believe that I need additional support to do so, and continuing to invest in myself. And by modeling that for my team, and speaking that to them, and in showing them that you can, with time, as Dr. Sharon said, with time and growth and skill development, whether it's character development or skill development, you can evolve and grow and have that ability to do so. And when you have those wins, it gives you the evidence that you can do it again. When you see the person next to you do it, it says, okay, I can do it too. If you go back to Roger Bannister, right? Like the 4-minute mile. It's this idea that when someone else does it, you're like, oh, well, if they can do it, I can do it. And so I think it's two-pronged for me. It's the idea of who I believe I am and what I believe I'm capable of, but then also speaking that to the individuals that I lead that may not see it right now, but need the evidence to allow themselves to believe it, and then reinforcing that over time.
No, that's a great point. And that Roger Bannister analogy is interesting because it was always thought that you couldn't run a 4-minute mile. It was impossible. And then he did it. And now you have people in high school routinely running that 4-minute mile. So it just opens the possibility. For me, it's about openness. And if you're not open to growth, and if you think you've already got it figured out, you're just limited. Like I know, like over the years, I have people that they go to a conference or they go to a seminar, they go to a class, and they'll say, "Oh, Twigs, I already knew all of that. I didn't get anything out of that. Oh yeah, you know what? I could have taught the class. I didn't really get much out of that." And I found consistently with the people that say that to me, they are underperforming in their business. Like everybody that said that to me has, in one way or another, has been an underperformer when you go back and you look at the results. And I don't think that's a coincidence, because it speaks to a lack of openness. And the top performers I've been around, they'll literally go to a basic level class, like in the National Speakers Association. There's all these stories about Zig Ziglar, this guy was making $50,000 a speech. He would be in some of those breakout sessions, sitting in the front row, taking pages of notes. And I think that's just really the key. We're talking about growth mindset and investing in yourself. You have to be open to learning. And even if it is something that you already knew, that's confirmation that you're on the right track. So let's go around. I want us to talk. Was somebody about to say something?
I was just going to ask you, Eric, are you familiar with Lisa Nichols?
Yes.
Okay. So Lisa Nichols, in her her origin story, she'll tell you she went to training classes for upwards of like 25, 30 times. She went to the same class and she just sat there and said, I'm going to see something, learn something, figure something new out every time. And so processing information as the version of yourself you are today allows you to receive a different lesson or message from the very same information, which is why so many training programs require you to recertify, or they ask you to resit with the material, because the material and you grow through time. And so a different version of yourself sits down with it this time around. And so being willing to not only see that you can grow through it, but revisiting content. Some of us read books, the same books. We have like a short list. I don't know if each of you have one, but there's like The Alchemist for me. I reread that book consistently. There are other books that are in my library right here that I've read more than one time. Why? Because I can get something new from it. So as you said, it's open to the learning, but also recognizing the possibility of the new information that you may not have gathered the first time around.
No, those are great points. And I know I've read like Think and Grow Rich,
Mm-hmm.
right? I've read that thing so many times. I'll read it again tomorrow and pick up something that I didn't pick up before, because it's to your point. A lot of times as you grow, your perspective changes and you pick up different things. So definitely it's the key that we need to be open to, getting new information. So I'm going to throw this back out. We're talking about how important it is to have this openness. We talked about the growth mindset. Let's share with people some of the things that we're specifically doing to grow and to get better. So Ted, I'll throw it back to you. What are some of the things that you're doing to grow and to get better?
For me, the biggest thing is just always just talking to different people and getting different perspectives, right? I mean, just being open to different perspectives. I mean, whether it's someone that's been in the game for 30, 40, 50 years or someone that's just starting, right? Because everybody has something. Everybody, you see everything is like, perspective, right? And so just getting different perspectives is something that I, spend a lot of time doing, and just kind of just listening, because you can learn something from anyone. So that's one of the main things I do.
It's interesting. I'm going to talk now unmuted.
Right. Yeah, that'll help.
You guys have to forgive me. This is my first time on a virtual platform. So.
It's first time.
It's still new to me, dog.
You gotta be willing to grow through it, Eric. You gotta be willing to grow through it.
I'm still growing, as you can see. But no, so this isn't a diversity episode, right? But I think diversity is key, because it's getting the different perspectives from different people. And I think that's how you grow, and that's how an organization grows, when you have people who come from different backgrounds, offer different experiences. And I know, Ted, you bring in people from across the board in your organization, right? I mean, you got Generation Z people, and they know TikTok and things like that you and I are like, huh? What?
Right.
So talk about the role of diversity in this whole growth mindset piece.
You'd like me to talk about that?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Well, I'll talk about that. Yeah, diversity is key. I mean, I think that, again, different people, just everyone brings something to the table. Young, older, men, different. It doesn't matter. I think, because again, it's everybody has a different way of seeing things. Everyone has their experiences to date, and I think that you got to take all that into consideration to become better. I think it helps with growth, of everyone's growth, if you just listen to everyone's perspective and through everyone's lenses, right? Everybody has their own view of things, and I think you have to do that. And I also think you have to always assume that you're never there. Right. That's one thing I always tell people. You're never there. I don't care how long you've been doing this, what success you've had. Like, you're never there. It's always about continuous improvement. Like, you got to be able to believe that you can learn something from anyone. Like you can't be like, oh man, they can't tell me anything. I've been doing this for X amount of years and I've had all, and you look at them and they're like blowing up, right? And you're like, man, I should have, there was something that person had to share, some value there. So I guess, you gotta, I think to grow, you gotta first, I think first gotta be humble, right? You can't assume that you know it all. You can't assume that you've accomplished it all. You have to be willing to always, be open to hearing from others and book or some just conversations or podcasts or whatever, and just be open to that information that you may be able to receive.
No, I think those are great points. You said a couple of things. You said always assume that you're never there. I think that's critical, and then being humble, and it goes back to just being open to grow and change. I think those are great points. So Dr. Sharon, talk to us about some of the things you do to invest in yourself.
It's really, and I don't have just one thing, of course. Just like all of you, we do many things to pour into ourselves. Definitely read. Dawn mentioned that earlier. That's probably the biggest thing. And I very seldom read a book from cover to cover. I pick and choose, highlight. I'm a highlighter. That's why ebooks does not work for me unless I'm traveling or riding or something and just want to read. But when I'm taking it in, I've got to have it in my hand. I got to have my pen. I got to have my highlighter to take those notes, and then to be willing to apply what it is that I've learned. Of course, super webinars, podcasts, such as this, and others that you can get nuggets of information from, definitely. And also surrounding yourself with the right people. I think someone mentioned that. I believe there are 5 types of people that you need to be around. The first one, of course, is someone that's parallel to where you are, who understands the struggle in real time where you are, right? That's always good to have that partner there, that you guys are pretty much in the same place. But you also need someone who's ahead of you, a mentor, a coach. So you want to make sure that you're standing, as they say, you don't want to be the smartest person in the room. And so you want someone else who's gone before you and gone through the things that you've done, so that you can glean off of them. So that's definitely. And then someone who is behind you, someone that's coming, because not only are you learning, you also want to teach, because there's learning in teaching. So you want to be a mentor or a coach. So you need someone that's walking behind you so that you can help them. So much learning in that as well. But also you need someone who's going to be that cheerleader, a positive person who can rah-rah you on and keep you going, keep you motivated, right? Someone that say you can do it when it gets hard. And that last person is that pushback person. The one that a lot of times people don't want, but that's the one you need. The one who's going to say, no, I don't think so. Come back, try it again. So I try to make sure that I have identified all of those people in my circle, because together as a unit, that's what's going to help you push over to the next level, I believe. And so surrounding yourself with the right people is definitely key for me. And we know that we gathered that, the right people on the right bus in the right seat. That simplifies that for me. In addition, one of the things that I really enjoy doing is just observing others' actions, observing what others are doing, and then taking note. Because a lot of times we can't just lift what someone is doing, but we can tweak it and make it work for us. And a lot of people get hipped up because they think you're doing this, I'm going to go do that. That doesn't work, at least not for me. But you want to learn from people and take it and make it your own and tweak it so that it does work for you. So those are just a few things that I like to do to push or move the needle, as we say, in my personal life as well as my professional life.
That's fantastic. So those of you that are taking notes, you need to make sure you wrote these 5 points down. I'm going to go back through them. I just think it's so important. So 5 types of people you need to be surrounded with. She said people that are parallel to where you are, people that are ahead of you, people that are behind you, people who can be your cheerleader. And then number 5, people that are going to push back. So Dr. Sharon, I don't know. I was good with 1 through 4, right? I'm like, this is going great. But then when you said that pushback person,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah, sometimes that's negative Nate, negative Nancy. I don't know. Those are some tough ones to
It's the
deal with. But they give another perspective, though. That's true.
Absolutely.
no, I think you're 100% right. Like, I've heard stories that they call it pressure testing your ideas, right? And so there's all these stories about some of the presidents, from Abraham Lincoln to Barack Obama, who would purposely, if they had an idea, they would go and meet with members of the opposing party and talk about the idea. And they knew if the opposing party was like, wow, yeah, that's pretty good. Like, okay, yeah, I know I have a winner because they're against everything I say, So I think that's a lesson. And I haven't shared this before with anybody. This is the first time you're hearing this, but years ago, I was when I was in the National Speakers Association, and I would talk about my book, and I would talk about overcoming procrastination, and most of the crowd would be, oh yeah, that's great. Oh my goodness. But this one person was just always very cynical and skeptical about the whole thing. It's like, oh, I don't know, Eric. Yeah, we talk about this, or yeah, is that a problem people want to solve? And so I purposely, she had a retreat that was out of state. I went to her retreat, and a lot of the people at the retreat were just like her, very skeptical, very, I don't know, how long can you? Yeah. But I'll tell you what, I came out of that with some great ideas to improve my approach. Because every now and then I'd say something and they would all be like, wow, that's great. I said, I'll write that down. Like, okay. That's something I need to stick with. So I think there's value in pressure testing your ideas to people that don't necessarily agree with you. And that's how you move forward. A great point. So hopefully everybody took notes. So Dawn, what are your thoughts? What are you doing to invest in yourself?
Well, Dr. Sharon, that was fabulous. First of all, I just want to acknowledge that. And one thing that comes up for me with that 5th person, that role that you described, is really that person is the person that challenges your growth mindset, right? Because they put that seed of doubt for just a second, and then you have to switch your question to yourself and say, what am I meant to learn? Right? Because sometimes feedback stings, but there's a lesson in it. And so we do need that person in our space, in our influence, and it helps if we trust them. If we trust them, then we also are prepared to listen to them and not dismiss them.
That's true.
And so that makes a big difference when you receive feedback from someone you trust, especially when it is not something that is just like, yes, great idea, run with it, you're amazing, right? It's the person who's like, I don't know, what if this happens, right? And that really gives you an opportunity to pause and refine. Most of the time, they're not telling you to throw it out completely. They're just saying, what if, or how about this piece, or did you think about this, right? So I just want to acknowledge that, because I do agree that person is an important person in our sphere of influence. When I think about surrounding myself with the right people, I think about the personal advisory board vision. And I've mentioned this before, but essentially I think about the areas of my life I want to grow in. And then I strive to have someone in my sphere of influence, in my personal advisory board, that can stretch me in those directions. That's not to dismiss having people around me that also meet the other criteria that Dr. Sharon mentioned, because I think that's equally important. But when I think about my ability to stretch and grow, I think about in the areas in which I desire to do that, who is going to be able to show me something, teach me something, allow me to observe, so that I can then adapt for myself to move things forward. I do that through mastermind groups. I do that through retreats. I do in immersion retreats. So I do one that's all women, more of a spiritual retreat once a year. This year we'll be going to Costa Rica. In the past, we have gone to Tulum. We take everything and we go somewhere in a concentrated amount of time. We spend a full week together and we turn off the outside world and we just become very present with one another to do the work. And I think that's really important because there's a lot of noise, right? And we just have to turn off the noise sometimes in order to really do the work. And then I also do maybe more like podcasting, books, and things like that ongoing. I do about 2 hours a day of self leadership, as I refer to it. And that can be done in a lot of different ways. It can be done through books like Dr. Carol Dweck. We mentioned her earlier. I'm taking a coaching. I just signed up for a coaching program. I'm working towards my coaching certification. And in doing that, they recommended a couple books. So those are part of my, front of mind books I'm reading. And then, of course, I think podcasts are easy for me. Audio is easy. I can plug that in. Yesterday, I had to build a spreadsheet for 2 hours. So I threw on a recording of a virtual conference that I wasn't able to attend live, but the recording is available for 4 weeks. So it was like speaking life into me while I was doing something else. So I think it's a lot about what you absorb. And for me, starting my day with something inspiring, empowering, motivating of some sort helps to set the tone for my day. And so I choose to do some of that in the morning as part of my morning routine.
No, that's great, Grace. I mean, you said a lot there as well, even like with the advisory board. I mean, if you notice it in sports, people who play a solo sport at a high level, they still have a team of people around them, right? They've got a health person that they may have a nutritionist that cooks their meals. They've got a mindset coach. They've got strength and conditioning. They've got, I mean, so they're surrounding themselves constantly with people in different aspects of their profession that can help them to improve. And I think in business, we need to follow suit. Then also trusted advice. So even if the person disagrees with your idea, is this a trusted person? And even in my scenario, the person who was giving me this critical feedback was having great success in her arena. So that's what made me listen in.
It makes you curious, right? You're
Right.
like, okay, I might not really love what she just said to me right now,
Right.
but maybe there's a there because she's actually doing something right? I'm
Yeah.
observing her, as Dr. Sharon said, right? I'm observing something about her that makes this interesting to me.
Yes.
And I think what I heard you say earlier was you observed the type of people she was attracting.
Right.
Which I think is also an interesting point, right? Because we're not going to be for everybody. But when we realize which circles we choose to be in, which areas we want to develop in, and the people we want to surround ourselves with, it's good to not always have people that always agree with you.
Right.
That have the same perspective, which goes back to Ted's comment about the inclusiveness of a good workforce. Yeah. Right. I heard this analogy about the salad bowl versus the melting pot, right? The idea that the little cherry tomatoes and the cucumber slices and the different pieces of lettuce and the radishes, and they maintain their integrity in the bowl. Mm-hmm. So we observe their differences and we appreciate them for their differences, and together they make a beautiful salad. We don't want everybody to mold into one thing, right? Because then that's groupthink. And then what do we learn from that?
Yeah. And I will say, Dawn, your add-on to the fifth person I talked about, I think is absolutely crucial, the trusted piece, because you do, and just to be real, people who are negative sometimes are doing it to sabotage. So if it is someone that's trusted, you can take that critical feedback and do more with it versus, are you just saying that so I don't succeed? It sounds petty, but it's true and it's out there. So I think that was a crucial piece to that fifth type of person, that you trust and believe in the work that they're doing, and that they're there to help you succeed and not sabotage what you're doing. So I just wanted to add that.
Now, great points, because you do have haters out there.
Well, and And just like everything else, you have to sort and sift.
Yeah, that's
right. Like if you listen to a podcast, there's going to be some things that you totally agree with and resonate with, and some other things that you don't. Just like reading a book, you don't have to take it all in and say this person is 100% right or 100% wrong. We get to sort and sift and filter.
Yeah.
And so that's part of the responsibility of your own path.
Yes.
Is the ability to say, okay, you know what? I really resonated with what Eric just said. And then maybe later on in the conversation, like, I'm not with that exactly, but that's okay. But there's nothing wrong with that. And I think that that's how you find the people you choose to follow.
Yeah.
And they go through seasons too.
Absolutely.
That's interesting what you all are talking about now. And when it comes to like an area of feedback, and I remember, said to me years ago, "Oh, Ted, you don't really like feedback." I'm like, well, that's not true. Just because you don't accept what anyone says about you does not mean that you don't like or you don't welcome feedback. I mean, I can take it in. I hear what you're saying, but I don't have to say, okay, because if I do that, right, I mean, that can kind of throw you off your game too, right? What if somebody says to you, yeah, you suck at this and you're never going to be successful, and you're like, oh, well, I guess I need to stop. No. I mean, that's your opinion. Okay, well, what do you feel I can do better? Well, I think you ought to do this. I think you ought to do that. And you take it in, you listen. That doesn't mean you have to apply everything that someone has given you. But you can hear it, right? You can hear it and then decide, okay, yeah, this right here, what Don said, yep, that's great. And this right here, Dr. Sharon said, yep, that's great. And Eric is saying this. I'm like, okay, Sharon, what Don said, right? I'm just not going to, take everything and, because some of the stuff, again, it's their perspective, it's their opinion, right? You can put 10 people in the room and one person may say that about you, right? And the other people hear it. I welcome feedback. I tell people that all the time. I welcome feedback. I welcome, hearing your perspective. But if you get upset because I don't do it, then that's on you, right? Because at the end of the day, I live with this. Right, the position that I'm in and the position that you're in, right? Dealing with this is my thing, and I got to make the decision on all the information I get on which things are going to be a part of what I'm going to implement and how I'm going to do it. Because it's much easier sometimes, depending on who you're talking to, for someone else to say, "Yeah, you ought to do that." Well, you're not the one that's going to pay for that, right? You're not the one that's going to have to live with this if this doesn't work, right? You're not as close to it as I am, but I hear it because there may be a nugget or something. So I want you to say it, but just don't. If you're going to get upset that if you share it, give me feedback, present or whatever. I mean, that's on you. Now, inside, you can be like, well, I told you so, Ted. You should have did this or did that. That's fine. But again, I just think that feedback is good, and you should, welcome it. Doesn't mean you have to do exactly, what they, what's.
Giving and receiving feedback is an art. It really is. It takes practice. It takes intention. You have to have emotional regulation. Like you have to recognize, like, especially when it stings, like we were talking about earlier, what do you need to do? Like, do you just need to pause before you react versus respond? Like, what do you need to do differently in order to maintain that professionalism in a moment where you are feeling a little attacked, maybe, or a little unsure? I think it's important, and it takes practice. And you have to own your impact if you miss the mark on it. But I think there is an art to feedback that likely doesn't get coached enough, honestly.
And I think also, great points, Don. I think also in how you give feedback, right? Like I could say, okay, Dr. Sharon, like I have to know, right, that when I'm saying it, if I'm saying it in a way in which I want to help, right? You got to think about how you present it, because again, if you say something a certain way or you're too hard with it and that wall comes up, you're not going to be, that person's not going to be helped, and you, right? It's just nothing's going to happen. And so you have to be careful on how you're saying certain things, especially when it's someone's business or something like that, right? That's their baby, right? So you got to be real careful in how you say. So they put a lot into it, a lot of blood, sweat, tears, long nights, and for you to come in and be like, yeah, you're not doing that right. You know, careful with how you do that in order to help. If you're coming really with the intentions on being helpful, right?
Yeah, I think it goes back to trust. And I think if you have a relationship with trust with that person, they'll be more open to feedback, even if it's harsh and critical. When I look at as far as investing in myself, I try to be strategic and look at like there was a time where I would just read any book that was personal development, right? I would just, oh, that sounds good. I'll just go ahead and read that. Or I heard about this book was good. But now I'm trying to really be more strategic and look at my goals and where I'm trying to go. So, for example, I listen to podcasts. Like there's 5 different podcasts I listen to, but they're all people who have results that I want. They've got like 1 million plus followers, and it's amazing, like the little things you pick up just from different people. And then you also pick up some of the things that they all have in common. And you know, okay, these are things that I need to grow at and work on and improve. So I would just encourage you, if you feel like sales, yeah, closing more sales is an opportunity, because this my goal is to hit this sales target. What books can we read that can help you to close more sales? I think if you can be intentional and strategic with your personal development, that'll really help you to get to the next level. All right. It is time for a coffee break. I'm going to get out my cup of coffee here. Wow, I tell you, that coffee just gets better and better with each episode. Like this is like the best cup of coffee I've ever had in my life. I'm telling you, it just gets better and better. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Sharon and Dawn. They're going to talk to us about the What Now Mindset book.
Yes. First of all, I just want to shout out our Chief Movement Officer for coordinating, being the project manager for this project. She kept everybody on target. And what an amazing outcome did we have. I mean, amazing 9 authors. Here is the book, The What Now Mindset. And let's see the back. Y'all haven't seen the back, have you? So excited about this project. Dawn, you did a fabulous job really coordinating these authors. Get many of them, I think all but one were first-time authors. So that's a whole nother level of anxiety that you had to really focus with. And so just the process of getting these ladies together and helping them through their What Now mindset journey. So I want you to talk about that, because it was truly amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. I am so proud of each and every one of them, and they all had a unique journey. They all had many stories to share, honestly, and it was just about really creating a space where they could ideate about what they were going to share. A couple of them have visions of writing more, and this was a good toe in the water, if you will, like just a first pass. But recognizing that within the process, there was a lot of need for them to trust me, right? For them to believe that everything was going to get taken care of, that their words were going to be honored, that the process was unfolding as it was designed to. They had the opportunity to meet you along the way and build that trust with you. And I think what a blessing it was to be able to, right at the very end of the project, for me to move back geographically closer to you, where we could sit together for the final round of edits. That felt really good. And I think just knowing that we were able to celebrate them, and we're going to continue to celebrate them going into the fall. Some of the ladies are going to do a book signing with their book clubs. We have a couple that are looking to get together in the fall and just simply celebrate one another. And so there'll be some other events and unfolding that comes, but to have the book in your hand and to have it in print, they're starting to send photos. They're so excited. And I know for myself, as having been a published author for the very first time in 2018, you can't even see what's going to come next, because it just creates this opening for you that so many more things are possible. So whether they use it as a personal goal or whether they use it as a catalyst to a business, their what now moment has now been a gift to them as well as to those who are going to read it. And I'm so grateful that we were able to bring this project to life.
Absolutely. And the book is on our website, thewhatnowmovement.com. You can go and purchase it, your own copy. Just really excited about this, and we look forward to future volumes. So that information will also be available on our website once we're ready to do that. We do know that we have a few people already on the wait list wanting to know more. So we're really excited to get that information out at the appropriate time. So that's the What Now mindset, available on our website, thewhatnowmovement.com. So go on, make your purchase, and stay tuned for the authors' events, because several of them are planning across the nation. So the Scottsdale, Arizona one is the one I'm looking forward to. One of the ones I'm looking forward to. I've never been there, but I've heard it's beautiful in Scottsdale. So guys, just look out for those future events.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. And I just believe whether you're talking about growth, whether you're talking about what now, everything starts with a mindset, right? And you have to have a what now mindset, and the book will help you to gain that. And so when you face a challenge, you'll know to strategically pivot. So make sure you pick up a copy of the book. Thank you, Dawn and Dr. Sharon, for sharing that. It's fantastic. So now, we were talking about what are we doing to invest in ourselves. So next, we're going to talk about what are we doing to invest in our team and invest. And I'm just amazed that in 2022, not everybody gets that, as far as the value of investing in the team. And they see it like as an expense if you spend money to train and develop people. So Ted, I know this is certainly in your wheelhouse. We'll start with you. Talk about some of the things. Well, first of all, talk about the value in investing in the team and some of the things that you've done.
Yeah, there's always value in investing in your team, whether it's sending them to training, whether it's just even just spending time with them. I mean, for me, it's a lot of time. I mean, I get together with my folks, and we'll get together and have whiteboard sessions, and and I think that goes a long way. I think also just in giving different people opportunities that you probably on their resume, it may not say they've had that experience to do it, but sometimes you can believe in your folks and think that they can do a certain thing, and I think I've stretched a lot of my staff over the years. And one thing I'll say, when someone works with you in a small business, you wear so many different hats. If you're in a larger company, a lot of things may be in place. When small business is like, okay, we don't have that in place, let's go in here, let's figure out how to do it. And so it just makes you think. And I think when you have an opportunity to bring someone into your organization that worked in another small business versus larger companies, you can tell, right? Because small business, like you had to figure some stuff out. Like you had to, when you didn't have the funds, or you didn't have, all the resources or whatever, and you had to go in there and just make it happen. And so again, for me, when it comes, investing, it's really more of time, and then just kind of just letting them know that you're here for them, and that works really well a lot of times with with younger team members as well, right? 'Cause they're just kind of getting started. They don't have a whole lot of experience, but one thing I will say with them is, most of the time, like, they're not scared of anything either, right? They like, you can tell them, like, okay, like, that's what we're gonna do, right? We're gonna do it. Enjoy working with with some people like that, because they have this clean slate, where sometimes if you failed at some things in the past, I mean, sometimes that's kind of there, right? You got to kind of erase that. But with those folks coming with a clear slate, you invest some time into them, and like we talked about earlier, of having a good mix of a diverse workforce and believing that everyone brings something, to the table from the youngest to the oldest. I think you get some amazing successes that can happen from that.
Now, good points. And I mean, you live it. You live and breathe investing in people. And one of the benefits I think people miss of investing in your people, there's something that's called discretionary effort,
Mm,
right? So discretionary effort is just that little extra that goes beyond what's on the job description, right?
mm,
Everybody has that little extra they can give if they really want to, if they're
mhm,
really bought in, if they really feel like you've got their back. So that could be staying late. That could be coming in when they're technically off because they want to see this. They want to make sure that everything goes right with that customer. So everybody has that little bit extra. But if they're not bought in, if they don't feel like you're investing in them, they'll just say, "Well, yeah, it's my day off. I can't. Sorry."
it's funny. The other day I did I got these two younger guys that are working for me, and so they were going out, leaving the office out the front door, and I was going on the side door, going toward the restroom. But they went out the front, and I could hear them talking about me.
Hmm.
So it's really great to work for, and da 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 da. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I am great to work for. You know what I'm saying? But it was cool to hear them, because right before we had a moment together to talk about some stuff. And so as they were walking out, they were talking about that as I was going out and hearing that. So I was like, okay, well, you just know, because that would probably have been tough to hear them saying, it sucks working for Mr. Fell. He's the worst ever, but it's just, yeah, you just have to, put that time into them, and that they're so, motivated to work. And, there's another one of the guys, he was on vacation last week, and he's been saying throughout I can't wait to get back. I can't wait to, I feel like he feels like he's missing something with the guys. So
Oh,
who
wait a minute.
does that on vacation?
Hold on.
Who does it?
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
You're telling me your guy is saying, I can't wait to get back from vacation.
That's right.
Come to
That's
work.
right. That's right. He's ready to get back with the guys, because they're all together and they're working together. They're young. They're like, just really, hungry and want to do some great things. Now, some of my folks have been around for years. They're like, look, they would take off for a month and they're not thinking about coming back. But some of the younger guys, they're really excited about this. And this, and it could be some of the smallest things. I just got them business cards. Oh, you think it's amazing? Got business cards. They pumped up. They're pumped up. So yeah,
That's
just
how you know you got something good when people are like, I can't wait to get back from vacation so I can come back. And that's the value of investing in people.
Yeah. It's funny. Yeah, it's funny. Like all three of the guys, they worked in some area of retail. I took them out to lunch. Mr. Fells, you saved us all from retail. And that's a big deal for them. I saved them from retail. Okay, I'm throwing them into something they hadn't done before. They're excited. The other day they were working late. I'm looking at them like, man, guys are still here.
Discretionary effort.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. No, that's good. Dr. Sharon, let's hear from you. What do you do to invest in your team?
Absolutely. So one of the main things, I follow the work of the Arbinger Institute, and they focus on the outward mindset, which really is about making an effort to see and understand others. And so that's the first thing, is making sure that my team, and when I say my team, I'm now thinking of school, because that's my largest team, whereas my professional, my work team is small, my business team is small. But when I hear that, I'm thinking of my educational team. And so it's very important that you value and appreciate people. That's like basic, right? And in education now more than ever, leaders are seeing that that's important, because right now there's a shortage of teachers, right? And people, I actually saw in one of the principals group, they were like, it's straight Hunger Games out here looking for teachers, right? People, I mean, it's brutal. It is brutal. So you have to appreciate and see your team members as individuals, right? And appreciate the gifts and the talents that they are bringing to the table while you're cultivating those skills and talents and their development. So that's the first thing. It's just seeing them as individuals, seeing them and understanding them. Like, I see you, Dawn, you say that a lot, and that's important. They have to know that you see them and appreciate them. That's the first thing. Also, making sure that you have intentional development. As a leader of a team, it is your responsibility to provide that training, that development. You want them to have their own self-motivation to develop, but you can't rely on that. As a leader, you have to ensure that there is some type of development going on, definitely. So that's important as well. The third thing for me, when you're talking about really building these teams and making sure that you're investing in them, is to make sure that you're developing them as leaders. And I always say that the hallmark of a great leader is to develop other leaders, not followers. And so it's going to be a challenge because you want your people to go on and do greater things. It kills you because then you have to bring in that new person and start all over again. But that's the hallmark of a great leader. And so those three things together are the basics for me in really investing in my team. I love it when I see one of my teachers go on to be an assistant principal, or my assistant principal go on to be a principal, because I'm coaching them in the space that they are and helping them go on to the next level. So those would be the three things, just focusing on the outward mindset, seeing them as they are, seeing them for who they are. Secondly, is that intentional development, definitely, and developing them to lead and not just follow.
You said a lot, especially like where you say the hallmark of a great leader is to develop other leaders. And again, you see that even in sports, like the great coaches, they have a coaching tree, right? And I'm sure if someone that's under, Bill Belichick, is going to have a good chance to get the job because people know, okay, this person was under somebody great. So some of that got to rub off. And so I think it's critical that we invest in developing other people, like Dr. Sharon is saying. But no, those were great points. So Dawn.
All right. I get excited about this. So I echo a lot of what Dr. Sharon said, but my first and foremost is how people receive appreciation. So yes, I want them to feel appreciated, but if I don't deliver my gratitude and appreciation in a way that they receive it, they might not feel as valued or as seen as I intend. So I'm pay attention to, and I spend a lot of time learning them, understanding what appreciation looks like, what support looks like, what communication looks like, so that I understand what they need from me so that they can be their best version of themselves and be the contributor to our team. Separately, I do agree with ongoing training and investment in people. Back in the end of the fourth quarter last year, we did a team-based strength finders training, including a geomap of all of us on one diagram. What it shows is how many people on my team have similar strengths. And then one, for example, rose to the top as an activator. I tap him to lead initiatives or build out standard operating procedures because that is something he needs, something he's excited about, and something he's very good at, starting those projects. So knowing that that's a strength of his, but also knowing it's a need of his in order to feel successful, taking those two together, recognizing that, and then providing him with the opportunity, as Ted mentioned, to say, I know you can do this. What does support look like for you? Let's get this done. Right. And so empowering him to take the lead in certain cases. And then I think the last thing I just want to offer, because it came up for me listening to Dr. Sharon, is yesterday when I was listening to that recorded session, one of the speakers said, about working with youth. So thinking about young adults, don't wait for someone to tell you you are a leader. Don't wait to define yourself as a leader, because you just choose, right? And so this idea of, I, from a young age, chose to lead people, and I believe that you can lead from any seat. And so empowering people to lead, but also when we look down, and for those of you that have children, for people that work with youth, recognize that they don't need a title to be a leader. And so empowering them to say and raise their hand and identify as a leader early on will instill the right next steps for them going forward. And so I thought that was a really powerful example. And so with my team, I remind them, just because I'm the lead doesn't mean you can't lead. We all will take leadership roles at different points in time in our zone of genius in order to collectively move the needle. Because I can't do it all myself. That's why I surround myself with amazing people.
And that's exactly right, Dawn. And my motto is always lead where you are. And that goes back to, bloom, plant Richie Bloom, whatever, but lead where you are. And that is so true. A very valid point.
It's interesting. I was listening to this, and one of my top performers, and Eric knows, is probably one of my youngest people on my team. I mean, and I bring him into meetings and presentations with us, and he has a role in the presentations. And I used to, people are like, oh man, it's good. It's good that you're training up your leaders for tomorrow. I'm like, oh no, I'm working with my leader of today, because he is a leader today. He thinks like a leader. He acts like a leader. So I just continue to try to hone in on helping him to continue to grow. And I've said to him, I said, look, I don't know, you don't have to have 10 years of experience and all these accolades in order to move up in this company. You can move up on performance. It has nothing to do with your age. And and he has his, and he's just continues to just to be a leader, daily. And then the other younger guys see how he's, given certain types of abilities, and they believe, okay, that we can do the same thing, that it's open for us to, to grow, And the other thing to think about, is, everyone has to, most people have to work. They just don't have to work for you. Right. So, so you want to let them know that, it's kind of interesting. I think when you hear that, I guess that book about love languages is sort of like, like you were saying, Dawn, before, like you got to figure out, okay, this person right here, no matter what you say, it's all money for them. This person right here, it's, hey, they want you to, to acknowledge them. Right. This person here is just the more new task that you give them, and that shows confidence. But it's interesting how everyone you can tell what it is that they need, and they'll let you know. It's all money. It's, hey, I want you to let everybody know that I did this. And then some people's like, hey, the more that you entrust to me, it lets me know that, this is the place for me to be. And so they take all that into consideration. You have to know the people. You have to listen to them and what they say, and then even how they respond to, to certain things. Like, again, somebody I could say, hey, Eric, you did such an amazing job in this project. He'll just light up. Right. And then somebody else, like Dr. Sharon, you did such an amazing job on this project in front of everyone. And she may have a look on her face like, please don't put me on the spot like that.
Yeah. See, words of affirmation.
Yes.
Eric likes words of affirmation, right? And so Gary Chapman, who wrote the 5 love languages, actually wrote a book called The 5 Appreciations at Work. And so it's the taking that premise and moving it into the workplace. And I did a quiz with my team at an in-person offsite meeting recently, where I asked them to all complete the inventory, and then we charted everyone's appreciation language so that you understand, if you want that individual to feel seen by you, this is how you need to communicate with them. And it was very eye-opening for everyone, especially to recognize those they work most closely with, why the relationship is what it is, one way or the other, good or bad, has it as an opportunity to improve, or why it works so well. because sometimes we use words of affirmation with people that is not their preferred language. So it's a really great insight activity to do with a team.
Now, these are some good insights. And one of the themes I'm hearing as it relates to investing in your people is acknowledgement. Most people don't have someone in their life that acknowledges them as a person, right? Most people are acknowledged based on their output or performance. But if the performance is off, then the acknowledgement stops. It's powerful when you can acknowledge someone and you see them just for who they are. And one of the things I've done with my coaching conversations that's been a game changer, it's slight. And I picked this up from a mentor, and I'll end my coaching conversation. I truly mean it. I end my coaching conversations by saying, "Hey, I appreciate you." And people are like, "Huh? What?" And it really strengthens the relationship when you can acknowledge someone for them as and I'm even working to do this with my kids. Hey, I appreciate you. Whether you win the race or not, I still appreciate you. Whether you get an A or not, at the end of the day, you're still my child and I appreciate you. So really think about that when you're thinking about investing in people. And let me tell you, this has been an awesome episode. And it's all about having that growth mindset. I would encourage everybody to get the book that Dawn was holding up by Carol Dweck called Mindset. It's critical. That's a good place to start if you're looking to develop a growth mindset. Now, there's that other book for the what now mindset that you need to pick up. I know Dr. Sharon's going to hold that up as well. So make sure you get a copy of that. So we have 2 books for your reading list based on this episode. You want the growth mindset. You also want the what now mindset. And don't forget also, you can go on our website, thewhatnowmovement.com. You can click on the contact button and you can give us your information, and that will get you access to our blogs, stuff we put out there on YouTube, and you'll definitely be in the funnel there. That's our time. Anybody have any other final thoughts before we sign off?
No, as always, though, very grateful for everyone's time. And if you like this episode, if you love this conversation, I'd love to know what else you want to hear us talk about and dialogue about. We certainly love bringing these topics to you and look forward to hearing more feedback from for those of you that are following and listening in.
Yep. And I just want to say thank you guys for taking time out, whether you're listening to us live or catching the recording. Thank you.
And I just want to say to my colleagues here, I appreciate all of you. I appreciate all of you, and I appreciate all of our listening audience. And as Dawn stated, please let us know what you'd like for us to talk about. And this is just helpful for me as well, individually. I think we all get something from having these conversations and just stopping for a second just to talk about this stuff, because you're doing the week, you're just moving. But just know that we get a lot out of this time we spend with you all. So we definitely appreciate you as well.
For sure. And don't forget, this actually is getting recorded, and it'll be an episode on the 30-Minute Hour podcast. You can listen to it on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. And don't forget to go leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and make sure you share the show if you found that to be helpful. Please do those 2 things for us. That'll be great. That's our time for this episode of Coffee and Conversation. And until next time, have a great one. And know that I appreciate you.